Hello, beautiful people. Happy Sunday, and welcome to your practical application of astrology and my personal story share. So, today is the 5-5 portal, and yeah, let's see what changes were brought up into our lives. Well, my life in particular in the past week, and of course, we are getting ready for the new moon in Taurus, which will be taking place 2 days from now. And actually, later on today, I'll be getting together with Adrian, so we will be recording the analysis of the chart. So that will be coming up for you in the next day or two, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, right here, right now, we're going to be talking about the practicalities of life and what everything has showed up in the past week. As we know, we had some planetary changes. Venus moved into the sign of Taurus, the sign of her rulership. Also Mars moved into the sign of his rulership, Aries. So we have both rulers of the nodes, south node and north node, in the signs of their rulership. And also Pluto stationed retrograde, and Pluto is going to be retrograde until October 11 or 12, depending where you are in the world, so for a long time. And this is helping us to integrate this new energy that is coming through for us, with Pluto being in Aquarius. So anyway, this is what's going on astrologically. But yeah, how all this has been showing up in our life. As I mentioned already, today is the 5-5 portal. Number 5 is associated with Mercury and Uranus, which is about all these changes that we are experiencing. And also tomorrow on Monday, we are experiencing the third and final conjunction between Mercury and Chiron in Aries. And of course, each time that they conjuncted in the past 2 months, Mars was in a different sign. So this time, Mars is in the sign of his rulership and Mercury is post his retrograde. So we have much more awareness with regards of how are we interacting with our reality and what's needed from us going forward with regards to communication and identifying the things we are experiencing, and again, how we interacting with them. So as probably if you're watching me, you probably are aware, I just relocated from Mexico at the beginning of this week. I was flying on Monday and I arrived in Slovakia on Tuesday. There were delays on every aspect of my journey, which I kind of foreseen by pulling the hangman last weekend when I was making my practical application of astrology. And I remember at the bottom of the deck there was a hanged man, and that was the first thing that crossed my mind, like, oh no, like there's gonna be the delays. And I was like, no, it just means change of perspective, it's fine. And yeah, there were delays. So my first flight was fine, but my second flight, we actually did arrive earlier. I was a little bit concerned because I had very tight connections. I had just over an hour to make my connection between like from my first to my second flight in Toronto, but we arrived half an hour early, so I was very happy about that, because I was like, oh, that's fantastic, I don't have to worry now, I have extra half an hour. Well, my second flight was delayed by 2 hours, and then because of that I missed my third flight. The connection literally landed at the same time as my third flight was taking off, which is no problem. I just got put onto the next flight, and because these are all very local flights between Germany and Austria, it's literally like an hour-long flight. It's nothing. So there are plenty of them. So there was not an issue at all. However, when I arrived in my final destination, I found out not just that I arrived 3 hours later because of all these delays, but my luggage didn't arrive. One of the two, because I had 2 checked-in pieces, and one of them stayed in Toronto. It didn't even make it to Germany. But yeah, I still don't have it at the time of recording this video. I still don't have it. It's supposed to be delivered tomorrow. Hopefully, good job that I went back to my parents where I have all my things, because if it was going the other way, that would be more of a problem. However, again, like with the hangman, it's so interesting because I've worked on cruise ships for 8 years, as I mentioned a few times, and I've been traveling since I was 19 years old. For 20 years now, I've been traveling like, I mean, more locally previously, but now more internationally, and even like different parts of the world and stuff like that. I had never had my luggage lost, whereas probably most people already had this experience and probably watching me saying, "What, you know, lucky you," right? And I know even when I worked on the cruise ships, there were many, many experiences where people arrived on cruise ship for the 6 months contract and the luggage didn't turn up, and sometimes it wouldn't turn up for months, because obviously depending where you sail in and all the ports and the what is allowed, and there are all these logistics to go through. So anyway, without going too much into these rabbit holes that are not really relevant to the video, but yeah, it's very lucky. Yeah, my luggage didn't turn up, but everything worked out perfectly. I mean, obviously it would be nicer if it was there, but considering there was not really much of a loss, or even with all the delays, everything actually worked out better than it would have if the delays didn't take place, because of my brother picking me up and his his schedule for that day and stuff like that. So everything actually worked much better, despite the fact that my luggage didn't arrive. So anyway, so that was the beginning of my week. This was the beginning of my relocation, and as probably you can tell, I'm still getting over my jet lag. I just can't catch up on the sleep. When I'm going forward with time, so obviously I lost 8 hours by going to Europe, because Europe is ahead of that side of the world. I always struggle when I'm going from Europe to Mexico. Is not a problem, like 1-2 days I'm fine, because I'm like, like gaining time, I'm gaining sleep time, but now I'm losing sleep time. And again, I don't want to make this about travel, and the inconveniences of the travel, because I'm really grateful and fortunate that I'm even able to travel, at least at this state, this state at least at this stage, and where we are at right here, right now, because who knows, these things are not to be taken for granted anymore. But yeah, this was the beginning of my week. And as I mentioned in my previous video, it's quite interesting, because both rulers, Venus, both current rulers of the nodes, Venus and Mars, are actually the rulers of my own north node in my chart, because as I mentioned, my north node is in Taurus, but my Taurus is intercepted, and the house ruler of that house, of Taurus, the house ruler of Taurus is actually Aries, therefore Mars. So both rulers of my natal north node also Mars and Venus have been, affecting me by changing their sign in the way they have. I mean, it's all my third house, which is of course about travel, short distance travel, not long distance as much. But yeah, it's just been very interesting, because all of this again is about Taurus. How much do we trust ourselves and our ability to take care of ourselves and survive, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the external environment, but just flow with it. And that was the beginning of it. That was just the beginning of it, because like I mentioned many times in my videos, every time I go back to Slovakia and stay with my parents, I encounter all these challenges, which I'm sure many people do when they're interacting with their own family members, because family is the biggest trigger point in most people's life. But yeah, so this is how it all began, opportunity to change a perspective, how we looking at situation and interacting with situation and identifying the situation. Are we going to use the old filter, or are we going to look at it from a different perspective, and therefore experience this situation in a different way? Like, yeah, I can go complaining all I want, but well, this is what happened, these are the facts, and now I have a choice. How do I want to feel about it, right? That's up to me. And then arriving here at my parents' place and interacting with the environment, which is very familiar to me, nothing changed, everything the same as it's always been. And I know what to expect, which is again, do I experience these things because I'm, in a sense, counting on them being this way and expecting them to be this way, or this is just how it is, right? So once again, being here only for 5 days, which still feels like, oh my god, how have I been here already, like almost a week? But yeah, being here only 5 days, the same old emotions are coming up to the surface, feeling restricted, feeling I don't have time for myself, everybody wants piece of me and stuff, which is understandable. I haven't been here for 6 months, and I'm only staying for 2.5 weeks, because then I'm going to England, and then I have my plans, summer plans for going back to Bulgaria, which again, nothing is to be holding on to too tightly, because we just don't know, right? But this is my intention for the summer months anyway. So I'm not staying very long. So of course, me being stubborn Taurus and having my routine and being used to being on my own, it's like I like doing things certain way. I like holding up to certain routine, having a certain schedule in my day, and flowing in a flow of my own rhythm, right? But now there are other people, other participants in the households that I'm staying at. Of course, I had other members of household where I was staying in Mexico, because I was staying in Airbnb. I wasn't there on my own. I was sharing the accommodation, not my room, but the house. And yeah, but there was not like people, they were not my family, so yeah, I had to interact with people, but they had nothing to do with me. Yeah, we were sharing facilities, but these are not people that were related to me, so I in a sense didn't have to interact with them if I didn't want to, and stuff like that. There were no expectations, which is not the case where you are staying with your family. There are a lot of expectations, and again, I am going back and forth like a pendulum by tapping into the old wounds and old emotions and old thoughts attached to this environment and situation, and also trying to look at it through this new perspective and recalibrate. And it's this continuous push and pull. Like the ego wants to identify it this way, because ego is the archive of the past, so it's very easy to dip back, and it's 11 right now. It's very easy to tap back into the archive of the past and say, but this is how it is, this is how it's always been, and just put the old label of it, and suffer because of that, because again, like all these unhealed wounds or unresolved issues and stuff. Or there is an opportunity for the higher mind and the higher self to be present in this situation, and use the role of the observer. Like, yeah, I'm observing this situation, yeah, this is what's going on here, like, at the face value, this is what's going on. But then just as I had the opportunity to be able to digest, and also with the help of my friend to talk through these emotions and situation, like what is the learning, why would I be finding myself into this situation again, because of course this is a situation I'm very likely be finding myself many more times, if I'm blessed enough to have my parents around for another numerous amount of years, because again, nothing is to be taken for granted, right? These things we complain about, once they're removed from our life and no longer available, we actually might feel about them very differently, right? So again, there is a likelihood of me interacting with these energies multiple more times throughout my life, if I'm lucky. So what is the lesson? What is the learning in this situation? Because this is not God punishing me or my family punishing me. These people that I am staying with, my family, they are the way they are. This is the way they are. Yes, we all change, but there are certain things which are quite quite reliable, especially when it comes to my family, because not much change is there. And Slovakia in itself, being in Slovakia, the energy is very similar. It hasn't shifted all that much in 6 months. So do I choose to put the old label on it and therefore tap into these old emotions and feel victimized and suffer because of it? Or do I look at it from this new perspective, observe it, and then don't get too attached to these emotions, because everything is passing through, right? It's just this one moment in time, which is going to be a very different moment few minutes from now. So anyway, what I'm trying to say with all of this, it's this energy of Pluto retrograde So that's technically what's going on. We have the ruler of the North Node and the ruler of the South Node in the houses of the rulership. As we know, we approaching new moon in Taurus, ruled by Venus. Venus is going to be conjuncting the new moon, even though the orb is quite wide. She is conjuncting the new moon, and also the new moon is happening in conjunction with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Now, Jupiter in a new phase to Uranus. What does this mean? Well, we are creating a new story. New story with regards to Taurus. Well, what do we believe about ourselves? What do we believe about our ability to take care of ourselves or to be in charge of certain situation, right? Because in opposition with Taurus, we have Scorpio. Do we feel empowered or disempowered? And whether we feel empowered or disempowered depends on how do we feel about ourselves. Do I feel that I'm control here, or do I feel that my parents control my life, or somebody else controls my life? Airlines controls my happiness because they lost my luggage, right? So what is it? Who is in charge here, right? So this is a beautiful opportunity to actually observe and feel these feels and understand, well, what is hiding behind it. Why do I feel disconnected from myself and feel that I am not in charge, or somebody else has this power over my life, which of course is not possible, because nobody has a power over anybody else unless we give that power, because we have the free will and stuff like that. So anyway, so this is just a like very random, again, simple example, which I know in comparison with other situations, things and circumstances that are taking place in the world, this is completely like inconsequential, right, and insignificant. But once again, I'm just sharing my own situation and circumstances and experiences, perhaps for people to, I don't know, perhaps reflect on their own and understand that, well, we all going through the same thing. It might look different. You not might be having the same situation, interacting with these energies, the same ones as me, but how we feel about it, that is very similar for many of us. Like, like, oh yeah, I'm experiencing something I don't like. I don't want to be experiencing this. This is not this is not working for me, right? This is not what I want. It's crashing with my schedule, it's crashing with what I want, and stuff like that. But then again, just like my good friend pointed out, like, well, universe is just preparing us. This is like a prep, this is a boot camp. That's literally what she said. This is a boot camp, and credits to Marissa from Growing the Flow, because these are her words. She said this is a boot camp, preparation for life. Because once again, and I already spoke about this when I was here last year, that if we can't even deal with our own family and the people that are closest to us, and again, I'm not saying, I know for some people the relationship with their own family is very challenging and very like they are estranged from their family and stuff, so I'm not saying, but majority of us have some kind of situations going on with our family, and it's not to the degree of such a toxicity where we have to completely cut our family off. That's like my family, like there is, there are all sorts of currents, but it is what it is, and they're not harming me, and they have the best intentions, and they love me and they care about me, but they do it in a way they know how, which is not necessarily the way I need. However, this is the role I assigned for them to grow and learn and evolve through this situation, right? So again, if we cannot even handle these situations with our own family who loves us, or so we hope, then how are we going to be interacting with this big wild world out there, where people don't even speak the same language, come from a different culture, different religion background, and have different needs and values, so this is like a prep, right? This is a preparation that, okay, well, you've been in your cocoon in Mexico for 6 months, now let's put in practice what you learned, right? Because this is how it always happens, it's just like when we go to school, right? At the end of the semester, or at the end of the school year, or whatever, we have a test, right? Because it's like, well, how much did you learn? How much did you learn in this 1 year? Which again, I don't want to go too much into the educational system, because that is a completely different topic. We're just using this as an analogy, because to share my opinion about, well, how relevant are these exams or these things that they teach in these kids these days, which needs to be updated, but that's all I'm gonna say about that. But anyway, when we look at the school of life, we always go through all these experiences, and then universe gives us a test, Like, how much did you learn? Okay, well, how are you gonna interact with the same old situation? Are you gonna do the same thing, or are you gonna interact in a different way now that you have this new knowledge or wisdom, hopefully, and you are able to discern and potentially interact with this in a different way, right? So this is where I'm at, you know, like I had my 6 months, you know, I had more upgrades, if you can call it that, you know, like whatever, you know, more opportunities for growth and awakening and tapping into myself and my toolkit and stuff. So it's like, okay, now you go back where you came from. You take that with you and see how you interact with the environment, and that's literally where we at, you know, like with this, like, okay, well, how am I going to balance the way that I want to live my life with the way that my family lives their life, which is a complete opposite to how I live my life, you know? So how the two can be balanced. And this is the question which, you know, I've been trying to answer, well, that I've been processing, and also asking in my conversations with my friend, trying to, you know, figure it out for myself, like, how do we balance these things, you know, like all these ideas about, oh yeah, new earth and, you know, spiritual, and, you know, like having this enlightened life of being in meditative states, and, you know, like just being not triggered and being able to be all in this higher mind and higher consciousness, and, you know, like always in our compassion and all the rest of it, you know. But is it really possible? You know, I mean, you know, for me, of course, it's easy to be spiritual and enlightened and, you know, have all this compassion and all that, where I'm there in Mexico in my cocoon, not interacting with the real people and real world. And it's like, yeah, it's all just a theory in a sense, right? And I can interact with spirit and be in meditation all day long if I want, you know, like, oh, it's up to me. But then I come to the real world, Slovakia, Eastern Europe, like, hello, and interact with my own family, and this is not possible here. Literally, like, even now recording this video is like, well, do you have to be recording 2 videos a week? Like, isn't it too much? Like, you know, don't you rather want to come and spend time with us? And I'm like, no. So that's what I mean, you know, like, it's like, how do you merge the two? Like, because of course the way I live my life is an extreme, you know, this is not really possible for majority of people to live life that way, because again, the another question, which again, I'm just processing my own thoughts here and sharing and putting it out there. Perhaps other people might have the answer for that, I don't know. But it's the same thing with the relationship. Again, this is something that I shared with my friend, and I'm trying to figure it out myself. Like, how, you know, how can we create this balance, which we are trying to create, you know, with the South Node in Libra, North Node in Aries, like self-discovery, trying to find a new way, right? Venus is now in a new phase conjunction with North Node, as I mentioned, this already took place, right? So how can we create this new way of relating to one another, where we don't have to sacrifice, where we can have these things that we want to have, but, you know, in a sense, be still integrated, you know, in life, right? Because for me, for example, and this is the story that I am toying with, which I need to rewrite, is that, well, the only way I can do what I want and be who I am and live my life the way that I want to live it is to be single and childless, because, you know, because people complicate things. Because if I have a relationship, then I can't do what I want, or, you know, whatever, which of course is not true, because if the person was the right person for me, then, you know, it would just flow, right? If that person obviously would be someone that is in alignment with who I am, how I live my life, and we would just somehow, I guess, merge the two. I mean, I don't know, I haven't had that experience yet, but this is something that I'm observing here, you know, like, how can someone who is like myself and wants to live the life the way I do, you know, be in an environment where I'm at the moment, without having to have to completely sacrifice all of that, which is, again, you know, I didn't figure it out yet, which is why I know that 2 weeks is the top, how long I can spend in this environment, because of all these adjustments that I have to make with regards to my day, right? Like, you know, having my nephews around all day, every day. Like my nephew has been staying for a sleepover for the weekend, and why he would not? These are his grandparents. Of course he wants to be staying with his grandparents for a sleepover for a weekend. And then my sister also visiting with her youngest son, who I love dearly, but who doesn't remember me very much because he's still little. So he's like, who are you? You know? So all these, you know, all these situations over here. And as we know, the time is passing very quickly, and we feel like we have much less of it than we used to. And then suddenly you have all these people, like, you know, I have all these people in my orbit that want a piece of me, wants to spend time with me, and my lifestyle doesn't really give that much time for interaction with other people, especially if I have clients, you know, especially if I'm doing my work, like recording videos or doing collaborations or whatever. I don't have that much free time to interact with other humans at the moment. Like I said, this is a work in progress, something that I'm trying to figure it out myself. So again, the question is, you know, how can we be this, you know, these Aquarian people, authentic in our power, in our individuation, but also have relationships at the same time? Because again, I know the way I live my life is an extreme, and majority of people cannot really live their life that way. And also the way that my parents live their life is not something that is in alignment with me and that I want to really, you know, be adopting or interacting with. So again, sorry, I had to pause the recording because there was somebody at the door and the bell was really distracting me. So anyway, so that's what I mean, like how the two can be merged, like not to have to be one extreme or then to be in this other extreme, which is the representation of the way that we were being told it has to be, you know, this continuous sacrifice because of children, because of relationships, because of whatever, this continuous sacrifice, like just because I'm here, it's expected, if, you know, if my family comes to visit, my nephews come to visit, it's expected of me to sacrifice my time, to sacrifice the things I want to be doing or I'm doing or I need to be doing in order to spend time with them or to spend time with my parents and stuff. So this is what I mean, like I don't know how to, I haven't got the answer for it myself, because so far the only way that I could have my needs met the way I need to have them met was to not have relationships, to just be on my own, which I know is the extreme and is also not healthy and is not what really, you know, we are meant to be doing here. We're not meant to be living in isolation and on our own. But I didn't figure it out yet, because once again, when I come back and interact with this environment, which is very familiar to me, I feel extremely depleted because, you know, I mean, I only been here 5 days, so I'm still functioning. But I know by the 2 weeks or next month, I'll be ready to go and hide in my cave in Bulgaria, right? And like how can it be different? How can we create a dynamic that is the middle ground, right? Which would allow us to have what we need and give to ourselves what we need, but at the same time, being able to have other people in our life. And that's what I'm trying to say, because that's the Taurus archetype, you know, like how can I be me and nurture my relationship with myself and have my needs met, but then not having to have to live in a complete isolation and disconnection from with the actual humans, you know, with the external world, because of course I work with humans, but they are not in my proximity. But then when I am in a proximity of other humans, that old belief system, that old story, this old sense of sacrifice comes online, that, well, I cannot have it here, but why not? So this is something that I've been processing, and like, you know, as I'm sharing, I don't have the answer for that, but it's something that of course I see as an opportunity, and has been pointing out to me as an opportunity that, well, you know, I know more than I did 6 months ago. So once again, I'm being put in the same situation, in the same environment, with the same people who have the same traits as they had 6 months ago, and now perhaps this time we can figure it out. I mean, I don't know, perhaps yes, perhaps no, perhaps we just edge a little bit closer towards a solution. I mean, as I said, you know, this is all work in progress. I'm just sharing my observation, and this is how the Pluto retrograde is showing up for me. because I literally arrived in Mexico right after, well, I mean, few weeks after, because Pluto stationed direct in October 11th, 2023, and I arrived in Mexico on November 2nd, I think it was, or 2nd or 3rd, at the beginning of November. So Pluto was already direct for a while by the time I arrived in Mexico, but now Pluto just gone retrograde, and I just, I just came back just literally 2 days before, right? Because Pluto station retrograde, Thursday, I think, and I arrived on Tuesday. So that's what I mean. So now this Pluto retrograde is making us to overthink, process over the things that's been coming up for us in the past 6 months, or not even 6 months, more like from January when Pluto was in Aquarius, and reevaluate, okay, this is the energy, this is the new energy that we are playing with here, and how can we integrate it into the right here, right now? Because, we cannot wait forever, like, okay, well, I'm not ready for this yet. Mars is in Aries, or, Venus is in Taurus, they are in the signs of their rulership. Mars is about to conjunct North Node in the middle of this month, so there is no more time to wait, so we just have to figure it out as we go, and then once again, just like my friend said, that, well, this is a preparation, me trying to figure it out with my own family, people that are closest to me. I'm trying to find the solution. This is a preparation for how we're gonna figure it out with the rest of the world, and again, it's not up to anybody, a single person, to fix the world or to find the solutions for how we're creating this new earth single-handedly, because this is a co-creation, this is a collective effort, but we all starting from our own garden, right? So this is the garden I find myself in, because this is so far the only stable place in my life, which so far has always been there since I left when I was 19-year-old, because all these other places I kept moving around because I never was a homeowner. I only just rented, so I always moved around. Even when I lived in England, even where I stayed somewhere for few years, it was never permanent, even though what really is permanent? Nothing is permanent, but you know what I mean with regards to location or residency or living somewhere. So this is the only constant in my life so far, my parents' place, and I keep returning here to try to figure out how to change this, not even change, but how to adjust who am I becoming to be still able to be integrated into this dynamic. Because again, like, we as people, in the world, awakening, growing, evolving, we still somehow are part of the collective consciousness. We need to learn, what role do I play in this collective consciousness, and how do I fit now that I am someone different, right? That I've changed, that I've grown, that I evolved. So it's the same in my family. Like, I keep changing. Every time I come home, I feel like I'm a different version of myself, but there is this collective, my family in this case, and how do I fit? How do I interact with this ecosystem without feeling that I have to sacrifice myself, or I have to undo all the work that I had done on myself in the past 6 months or past years or whatever. So nobody has to lose, but also at the same time, not expecting for the other to change, because that is not my decision, and it's not my right to expect other people to change for me just because I changed, right? But as we know, if we change, our environment changes. But sometimes it cannot change in the way that we want it to change. So we need to decide, okay, how do I want to interact with this environment now that I have changed, or something. I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, because as I said, I don't have the answers, and I'm just processing these observations, and I only been here 5 days. So perhaps, like, by the time I leave for England, or by the time that I come back from England, or leave even, second time and go to Bulgaria next month, I'll have more clarity. So this is yet to be resolved, this situation. But I really feel that, especially because of this new moon in Taurus, that is making us reset our relationship with ourselves and how we interact with this external world. Because, Venus, as the ruler of the South Node, is in the closing phase conjunction with the new moon in Taurus. There are things that are changing. because there are new cycles that are opening up for us, and we know that there has to be some kind of resolution to this. We need to figure it out, and we figuring it out as we go, because once again, it's not about the extremes. It's not about Aries. Yes, you're just gonna be all alone all your life, just so you can be who you are and have your needs met. And it's also not about this all, like literally, like me living in this household, these are the two extremes. Me representing the Aries archetype, like I want this new energy. I want to be able to live life in a different way, interact with life in a different way, have relationships that are different, right? And then I'm born in an extremely traditional, codependent, enmeshed family that everybody's in everybody's business and stuff like that. And, it's all this guilt tripping and feeling guilty and feeling that, oh, I need to help you because if I don't help you, I'm a bad person, even if it means I sacrifice myself. So these are these completely two extremes coexisting at the same time. And now how can we balance the two? So I don't feel that I have to sacrifice myself and live this way, but also they cannot be like me, because their needs are different. They have Venus in Cancer, okay? I have Venus in Aries, so it's like, meh, sorry, I don't have Venus in Cancer, So again, and this is again reflection and a mirror of what we are experiencing collectively, because this once again sounds just like, oh, who cares about my situation over here with my parents, right? But on a large scale, on a global scale, this is what we're experiencing, right? Because this is why we're still experiencing wars and divisions and stuff, because we feel like, well, I'm the Aries, you are the South Node in Libra, and you are outdated, like it's no longer relevant. But there are people for whom this is relevant, there are people like my family, like my parents, for them this is the life they want. They don't necessarily want to change it. Now, is it healthy? Well, who knows? Who am I to judge? It's not the right thing for me, but them looking at my life, they think like, how can you live like that? That's awful or something, because it's a complete conflict to their needs and values. So so this is what I mean. I find myself once again in this household under this roof with these energies and go, oh my God, like I cannot survive in this environment. But we all need to survive on this planet. We all need to somehow coexist and cohabit this world together, and we need to find a way. We need to find a middle ground. Like, how can we meet in the middle? So it doesn't have to be this extreme of continuous sacrifice, and also it doesn't have to be the other extreme of feeling, well, I just have to be alone all my life then, because I don't want this. Well, there must be a middle ground. There must be something different that we are co-creating together that allows for everybody's needs to be met. Needs, values, Taurus, because this is what's being reset with this new moon in Taurus. Something else has to change because everybody is in a new phase. Jupiter, Uranus, new phase to the new moon. Yes, Venus is in a closing phase to the new moon, but she's in a new phase to the North Node. And Mars, even though it's in a closing phase to North Node, is now in a new phase with Saturn and Neptune. So that's what I mean. The cycles are changing and there's no going back. So we just have to figure it out. Where do we go from here? This is where we at right now. And where do we go from here? And this is something which I am trying to figure out in my own life, which is why I'm sharing it, because, like I said, I'm sure even though you might not be in the same situation as I am, there are some similarities with regards to energy that is connected to interacting with relational dynamic, whether it's with parents, romantic partner, children, whatever it is. Is this extreme of Aries and Libra. Either it's all on my terms, but then there are no people around me because, I don't have to worry about them, and then they, don't feel disappointed by me. Or is this enmeshment, codependency, sacrifice, right? But there has to be something in between. There has to, because this is what we need to figure out with this age of Aquarius, and that's why Pluto is in retrograde. And Pluto is going to station direct right before the full moon in Taurus. So we literally have 5 months, 5 months and a bit to figure it out. And it's not like the totality of figuring it out, but by by the full moon in Taurus, we will have more understanding, more illumination, because the cycle will end next year when it's a new moon in Taurus. At least this cycle. As we know, there are always cycles within cycles within cycles. So it's the continuum. It's never really ending anyway. So anyway, guys, so this is what I got. I got some decks of cards here. Most of them new, so I'm really excited to have access to my big decks that I cannot carry with me when I'm traveling, and I also have a short channeled message which was mostly for me, but I'm gonna share it because perhaps it will be valuable to someone else as well. So I start with that. So what do my spirit guides want to share with me today? But as I said, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be applicable to somebody out there also. Peace of mind. Find the peace in your heart in any situation, and the peace of mind will follow. Don't allow the external environment to affect your internal world to the degree which is detrimental to your peace, to the peace in your heart. There always will be situations, things, circumstances, and people you are not overly keen or happy about. However, that doesn't mean that you have to feel like a victim of your circumstances, because you are the one creating your life and attracting the experiences you are experiencing. So take a deep breath, put a heart on your heart chakra, put a hand on your heart chakra, and if needed, put another on your solar plexus, and reconnect with the stability within you, which is always there and available to you to tap into. There is nothing that can take that away from you except for the illusion of your own mind. You are in control of your mind though, so it is in your power to change that sense of helplessness and hopelessness. You will always experience challenges because they are the stepping stone on your path of growth and evolution. Life on Earth includes the totality of all there is to be experienced there. Some of it you'll enjoy more, some of it less. However, none of it is in control. None of it is in control of you, because you are in control of you, whether you believe it or not. Stand your ground and stand in your power. All that you are seeking is already within you. You are more resourceful than you think or give yourself a credit for. You have the tools and ability to overcome any challenge, to withstand to overcome any challenge and to withstand any circumstances. None of it lasts forever. Everything passes like clouds in the skies. There's a constant change happening throughout your life, throughout the experience of being, no matter what the form it takes. What form it takes. Nothing ever stays the same, and nothing will ever last forever in the same shape and form. However, you are eternal, and your experiencing the experience of being is eternal. Learn to be present in your present moment. Seek the beauty and teachings in all that you are experiencing and interacting with. Everything is there to help you to grow and evolve, and all of it is being put onto your path by you. Therefore, there must be a reason for experiencing it. The question is, are you ready to ask? Are you ready to hear the answer, no matter what it might be? If you ask, you receive the answer, but it might not be the one you are hoping to hear or will like. How open-minded are you ready to be? Once again, don't take life there on planet Earth so seriously. All of it lasts only a moment in time, so enjoy it. Even the experiences you would prefer not to have, because there are even the experiences you would prefer not to have, because there are nuggets of wisdom in all of it. Cherish your time on planet Earth because it's precious, and you were waiting to return there. Have fun and explore all the variabilities and possibilities that are being offered to you. It's not about what it is, but how you are interacting with it and how you are experiencing it. It's all about experiencing and gathering wisdom and tools from each of these experiences. All of it counts and all of it is needed to learn from. Take it easy, dear one. Don't be so hard on yourself. Have a compassion and grace for your passage through all these different aspects of life you might be experiencing as a human. It's not always easy, but it is all worth the effort of learning the lessons. Remember, you're never alone and help is always available to you. All you need to do is ask and open to receive. We are with you. We are with you, beloved, always. So as I said, this message I channeled for me, but if you are having similar situation going on in your life like I am, which like I said, in comparison with other situations that are going on in the world, my situation is not really anything difficult, right? It is all energetical and it's all about this Chiron, the wounding, these things coming around. And now Mercury Chiron conjunction number 3 tomorrow with Mars being in Aries now. We have the opportunity to look at it differently, right? So what are we going to do with it? It's up to us. So anyway, let's pull some cards. I've got some decks here. Okay, let's start with this one. I have the Healing Waters from Rebecca Campbell. Healing Waters Oracle. So let's pull some Healing Waters card guidance. Healing Waters card guidance for the current energies and also the new moon in Taurus that's coming up in a few days' time. You see, these big cards I usually struggle to shuffle. Okay, let's take this one. Beneath the surface. Beneath the surface. What's really driving you? True motives and breaking free. Look, there is a lady on the water. These cards are so beautiful because they're all like really cosmic. So you can see a woman on the water in a meditation. She's making a kriya with her hands. And there are all these undercurrents and all this. It's like a dark blue color underneath. So beneath the surface. Let's see what the beneath the surface says. Like I say, I only interact with these decks when I'm here because they're big to travel with. Beneath the surface. Often the things that we think we want are not what we really want deep down. Sometimes we go after them because the world has told us we should do certain things or be a certain way, and we don't realize there's a choice. Sometimes we are driven by the need to keep up, be approved of, or fit in. Sometimes we do things just because we've always done them and we can't even see out of the box that's containing us. Sometimes what we're chasing is really chasing us. What it is that you truly want, and why do you want what you truly want? Be honest about it. What you are chasing that's holding you captive. Are you being called to break free of the box that's containing you? What's beneath the surface of what you currently see? What are your true motives deep down? Are you experiencing energy on things that aren't true inner yearnings? What's really driving your behavior and your desires? It's time to move from confusion to clarity, to question the narrative, realign yourself and reclaim your life, to open your mind to what it is that you really truly want and to reorient yourself toward it. It's safe to change your mind, to step out of the box, to choose a different way of being. Look beneath the surface of your day-to-day life and reflect on what's really driving you and what you really truly want. Freedom always follows, and so does ease and fulfillment. And the soul inquiry is, what are you doing that you don't really want to? What are you doing just because you always have? Well, there's definitely a lot to contemplate on that card, especially after what I've just been talking about and sharing, right? And at the Bottom of the deck, we have immerse yourself, training, learning, new hobbies and passions. And we can see there is the Nautilus shell right there in the middle. Yeah, my camera and this light, we are no longer in Mexico. The light here is not the best. It's not good giving it so much justice. But all these beautiful colors. And like I said, there is this Nautilus shell and there is like archway and a doorway and a book, right? Like a gateway into some kind of temple and a book. So what are we learning through this life? And this, I have a feeling, is just going to be what was the channeled message about. Everything is about learning. You know, we all created these circumstances that we are experiencing to learn something from. So immerse yourself, follow your desire to study and learn, dive into what fascinates you, immerse yourself in the topic that captivates you most. Maybe there's something you're passionate about that you call to deepen your knowledge of through study or learning, or something you want to experience more fully. You're being encouraged to increase your wisdom and to experience life in a deeper way, to follow your passion and embark on some kind of higher and deeper learning. What are your interests? What would you like to learn more about? What topic fascinates you? What could you talk or read about without getting bored? Which field you are most interested in? What makes you come more alive? Maybe you're being called to consider a new career or explore the possibility of training in a new field. Maybe you're being called to simply surrender to your passions and dive even deeper into them in your spare time. Education, whether traditional or experiential, can never be taken away from you. Knowledge can open the mind and lighten up the soul. What do you want to understand more deeply? Is there something you've been considering studying, whether in a structured way or more experientially? Is there a course or program you're interested in? Is there something you're longing to explore for yourself? What piques your interest? What could you learn about without getting bored? Soul inquiry, what interests you or makes you come more alive? Okay, so beneath the surface of what we're experiencing is our soul desire to learn new things and experience life in a different way through experiencing that which we no longer want to be experiencing it. So we have the opportunity to learn the lesson. Okay, we're going to pull card from Universe, Oracle of the Universe, Divine Guidance from Cosmo, from my favorite Stacy DeMarco. This is her latest deck as far as I know, and I actually never used it. This is the first time. I literally just unwrapped it before I started recording this video. I bought it last year, but just before I left for Mexico, and I never had the opportunity to use it. So let's see what the cosmos want to tell us today. Okay. Look at these beautiful backs of this card. So pretty, like the universe. Yeah. Okay, cosmos. What is the message for the energies that we are interacting with at the moment? And this new moon in Taurus. We already pulled the card for the new moon in Taurus from the Queen of the Moon Oracle in the astrological forecast. Okay, we have a card. School, Rosette, Fragility, Nebula, number 39. Well, this is so crazy because the number 3, number 12, or number, whatever that can then be made smaller into number 3, was following me this entire trip. And 3 is the number of Jupiter, which is the number of learning, and is also about collaborations and expansion. Of course, there's a Jupiterian quality. So literally my first flight, my seat was number 12. My second flight, my seat was number 39, and I just turned 39. This card is 39. 3 and 9 is 12, which is the hangman, and 1 and 2 is 3, right? And then my last flight, the one that I missed, I selected the seat number 11, but I missed that flight, and then I was being allocated a seat number 12 again. And all the zones the zones that my seat was at in the plane was zone number 3, and my booking reference had the number 3. The only number that was in my booking reference was the number 3. And when I just looked at the timer on my phone, it said 5333. So I mean, like, you can't make this up. It's so funny. So anyway, so we have this woman, with their head being blown open in a sense, and it's cracking open, nebula, and we can see also at the nape of her head, well, I mean, it's hair, but this is also the place for Alta Major chakra. So yeah, there is definitely something that is breaking open for something new to be born. 39, 3 and 9, 12, number 3. So what it is that we are birthing, what it is that we are breaking free out of to create a space for this new version of ourselves. So okay, let's see. Like I said, I never used this deck before, so let's see what Nebula wants to tell us. Number 39. Skull reset, fragility. Your body is strong, but it can be fragile too. Be respectful. The body and mind work together. Do not waste time. Take advantage of every opportunity. Stop procrastinating. Death is a part of life. Memento mori. Skulls have been a symbol of life and death all throughout the world. A skull, while strongly constructed, is fragile and the bowel for our precious brain. The skull represents the idea of our own mortality and not to waste time. The Stoic philosopher Seneca often spoke about the concept of memento mori, or remember you will die. In his moral letters to Lucilius, Seneca wrote, "Let us prepare our minds as if we come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing." This is not a morbid way to feel, but a way to motivate ourselves to not waste life and time and to choose what we do each day with discernment. It is positive instruction to pack as much as we can into our lives, not to procrastinate on or hide, but to do everything we might wish to experience. As the Stoics often intimated, life isn't short, it's just that we tend to waste a lot of time. During the Day of the Dead celebration, skulls are decorated and sweets are made into skull shapes to take away the stigma of death and to make it as beautiful as life. The skull-like gas in this nebula surrounds a dying stars, so nebula, right? Surrounds a dying star some 1,600 light years away. It is so gaseous the fragile nebula is almost transparent, and if observing, you can see some of the bright stars from other galaxies behind it. How to view the Skull Nebula, and the words of power: "My life is precious and I will not waste a moment." Okay. So we are being cracked open to see what's really underneath, to be able to start living life fully. And it's interesting because, of course, Taurus is about survival, about preservation of life force. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what does this mean with regards to what I shared about my situation. Not waste life, not waste time by trying to change people who can't be changed, a situation that can't be changed, just, but not having to have to sacrifice, make most of every moment. And it's very interesting what, they said, like live every day the way that you want, and this is something that's been coming on a lot through Lee Harris's channels that, I've been listening to a lot lately. Then we all think that we have this unlimited amount of time, right? But what if we don't? So why wait? Again, like what we would do if somebody told us we had only limited amount of time left to live, and why wait for that moment until we start living it that way? So this is very profound. And then at the bottom of the deck we have Cassiopeia, Pride, constellation Cassiopeia, which is number 23, number 5. And we have this beautiful woman sitting on a chair, right, with the universe behind her. all in white or gold with the mirror and all this gold. 23, number 5, number of change. Okay, let's see what Cassiopeia, at least the short message, because then it has the description of the object in the sky. Pride, celebrate your achievements, but not by boasting. Humility is needed. An arrogant or boastful person around you might soon see consequences from their hubris. Shame is a complex emotion and is there for a reason, just like anger, but we should never hold on to shame for long. A healthy amount of pride is good. You should love who you are and what you can achieve. Do not compare yourself to others. And then it's an explanation about Cassiopeia and words of power. I can be successful and mark my triumphs as well as show humility. And this is again about Taurus. You know, trust in yourself, loving yourself, reconnecting with yourself. So yeah, enjoying life, because life will not last forever, not in this shape and form, because like the message said, everything is always changing, and take pride in what you achieved, but by not, I guess, trying to compare all this upmanship, like trying to be better than someone else. Okay, then I have my first deck I ever bought, tarot deck, my favorite. One of my favorites. I don't really use it very much because it's it's very fairy tale like. Angel Tarot cards by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine, even though we know Doreen Virtue doesn't do oracle cards and tarot decks anymore, but at the time when she did, she produced this beautiful deck, and I kept it because I like it, and it's beautiful, and it's got fairies and mermaids and angels, and it came to my recent attention in a reading from my solstice that I need to connect more with angels, and this deck has been on my mind before I even listened to that message. So anyway, so let's pull a card from Angel Tarot. This is quite many cards, so they're hard to hold on, but let's see. 10 of air, so that's like 10 of swords, right? The end of a difficult situation, embrace the change and expect things to get better, recovering from an addiction. And we have all these unicorns, and actually, interesting fact, this is the animal that I was being pulled for me for my birthday as my animal for the year ahead. So we have a unicorn. For me, unicorn, horse, you know, same thing. It's just mystical. So the situation, so we can see the horses are running free. They're running free in the nature. So unicorns, believing in magic. 10 of air. 10 of air. This situation has ended. Fortunately, endings are always followed by new beginnings. You might feel sadness over what has transpired, mixed with welcome relief. It's time to walk away and embrace the dawning of a new day. Expect your circumstances to improve. It might be time to change your career. Perhaps you've completed a long-term project or have decided to pursue other employment. Don't put limits on what wonderful things the universe can bestow. Cast your net wide and see what fantastic opportunities you might catch. Additional meaning of this card: nowhere to go but up, recovery from addiction and melodramatic reactions. There we go. 10 of air, 10 of swords. So yeah, definitely, you know, leaving Mexico, coming here, one situation has ended, another one has begun, but this is just the in-between station, because this is not the final destination for me personally. But as we can see, cycles are ending, new cycles are beginning, because it's time. And at the bottom we have a King of Fire, King of Wands, motivational, idealistic, ambitious and charismatic. Focus, focus, focus. Communicate with vision and be a leader. Advice from someone creative. We have a man on a dragon, like a fairy man with a sword on a dragon. I have a reflection here. But here we go. King of Fire, King of Wands, creativity, creating something new out of something that ended. It's time to create something new, because with the 10 is the totality, we have the understanding. So King of Fire, the embodiment of that suit. Focus, 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 and full stream ahead. Devote your energy and time to the task at hand. You are in a position of leadership and you inspire others with your enthusiasm. You might also receive advice from someone who excels at creative solutions. People, a natural born leader with great charisma, charm, and flair, often the head of a business or organization that allows him or her to be innovative and accomplish great things. Creative, idealistic, ambitious, influential, motivational, professional, and theatrical. Additional meaning of this card: an entrepreneurial venture, speaking in front of a group, the courage of one's convictions, making a difference. So that makes sense to me, because the world that we've lived in, where we have to sacrifice, right, and we weren't able to be ourselves, and the life that we wasted because we had all this time and we weren't even able to stand up in our own pride for what we achieved, right, that time has ended, because it's all about Taurus. We need to reconnect with ourselves. We are in Taurus season, new moon in Taurus, and it's time to stand in your power and be the leader of your life. Yeah, we have the Capricorn energy this entire year, year number 8, the year of strength, fire again, and that is inspiring us, that is pushing us in a sense to take the charge of our life, be the leader, become the leader, because there are people who needs that motivation, I suppose. So I guess that's why I'm sharing these stories of my life, that perhaps it will inspire someone or make somebody feel heard and seen and validated, because you are not alone experiencing it. We are all experiencing this in some way or another. Okay, and the last card I'm going to pull is from Sufi Wisdom Oracle. Again, I never used this deck before. It just arrived while I was not here. So I'm going to see what comes up. Again, another beautiful deck, beautiful teal color, just like the Alta Major, just like in these ladies' neck, Alta Major right here. Okay, let's see. Okay, message from Sufi Wisdom for the Taurus New Moon, please, Spirit. Okay, one jumped out. Heart of the matter, align life's pathways through the heart. Life consciousness. And we have like an angelic figure and a naked woman. Angelic figure approaching a naked woman. And there is a star. Our Aquarius is there. Look. So it's all about the heart consciousness, just like we've been saying. The year of the strength, but in opposition with the strength is the star, and star is the Aquarius. Star is the hope for the future, but the strength, the Leo, represents the heart. So the heart-centered consciousness is the way into the future. Heart of the matter. Okay, I got it. Align life's pathway through the heart. Heart is the chamber of unity. It holds the essence of oneness and serenity. It's blind to the truth that is concealed within it. It's the clay that embraces both darkness and light. Remove the covering and behold his lovely heart basking in the light of truth. Attar. In Sufi wisdom, the human heart is a place of divine grace and the sanctuary of God's love. It is the source and center for every image, yet it takes no form of its own. It is the place where duality cannot enter. Everything in the heart is united into one. Its true value is only recognized by love. There is energy in the air like a fragrance that surrounds and shelters your heart with a pure love like you have never known before. If you feel unsatisfied with your life, search within yourself and find out if your spirit and ego are in harmony with one another. Frustration and loneliness are caused by a war going on inside you between your heart and the ego. The spirit is interested in taking the ego into its own realm, while your ego wants to do the reverse and break away from your spirit. Dear one, you are embraced by open, nurturing hearts and loving souls, a garden of beauty where you can renew yourself. Pure happiness comes to those whose hearts are polished like a mirror to reflect their excitement and desire to expand. Life is a process of constant creation. Use your heart as a guide in all non-physical choices, good or bad, conscious or unconscious, in pain or in ecstasy. Know that the heart can bring all opposites to union through love. And mantra is, I am recalibrating my frequencies to resolve the battle between my rational mind and my heart by letting my mind take care of physical matters and letting my heart bring me into alignment with the true pathway of my life. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that, guys. I'm not gonna check what's at the bottom of the deck because I think this is the perfect message to end on. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, and I hope that this has been helpful to someone. If not, then maybe next time when I'm less jet lagged, I can produce something more more exciting. But anyway, I wish you all a wonderful week ahead. Like I said, we have the Mercury Chiron conjunction number 3 tomorrow, and also Sun is going to sextile Saturn, and this is the build up towards the new moon in Taurus. And later on today, I'm recording my collaboration with Adrian, where we're going to do the chart analysis. So stay tuned, that will be coming up in the next day or two. And once again, I wish you all a wonderful week, and I'll speak to you again soon. Much love, everyone. Bye for now.